BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor, take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward. In today's episode, I interview Ally Aronson. She is a 4-time state champion in high school tennis, representing #1 doubles at Cheyenne Mountain with her good friend growing up, Casey Ahrendsen. Not only were they able to accomplish a 4-time state champion in their position, but they were able to accomplish 4 times as a state champion as a team. Her records and her accolades in high school tennis are extraordinary. But what I love about today's conversation is about the simplicity of her accomplishments. She was an avid athlete growing up, tapping into soccer and running cross country in the fall. And Casey, her doubles partner, was no different, tapping into volleyball. And they would find themselves in the spring playing high school tennis together. The ebbs and flows of the seasons over 4 years led to them staying together in the same position, winning it 4 years in a row. You'll be inspired by this conversation, her story, her connection with her sister, the support system of her family, and I can't wait to get into it. Let's do this. Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Kollman Gearhart, a former athlete and motivational coach. I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it. Humble times again on the BTB project as I get to walk down memory lane with a good friend of mine, someone that I've been able to not only do some life with on and off the court, but their family has been a tremendous impact on me and my development and opportunities as a coach. And it is just humble pie that I'm going to eat knowing that this young lady is arguably, and if not one of the most successful high school tennis athletes to embark on Colorado. And I can't wait to dive into it. And it's with a tremendous honor I bring Ally Aronson to the BTB Project. Welcome.
Yay, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. What an intro. Let's walk down memory lane.
That's right. Here I am all coated up in Colorado, and you're out there with your beach mentality with the 50-ish degrees in San Francisco. So why don't you start us out by telling the listeners what you're up to and how long you've been able to be out there?
Absolutely. I went to Boulder for college, and then after I graduated, I got a job offer for Visa, like credit card company, think swiping, and I moved out here 2.5 years ago. I was admitted into a rotational program, so think 2 years, 4 6-month rotations where I got to tour around the business and learn a little bit more about the company and payments. And then I recently graduated from that program this fall. And I'm like now 4 months or so into my full-time role as a product manager. And I love it. I live in Pack Heights. I'm loving it out here, camping on the weekends. Just love the California living. There's something to it.
Yes, I've had many battles out there when I was playing college tennis. We got to do a nice tour of San Francisco. We played down in the city park there against University of San Francisco, and then we'd go up and play St. Mary's.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. And got to spend some time too, a little bit further out in Palo Alto at Stanford. And it's just a beautiful spot. So is that a different neck of the woods compared to the incline and what you experienced in Colorado Springs?
I always like to say I've like hashed on California for a really long time. Uh, Even in like the college process, I'd say like all of my hopes were to go to a California school. When it came down to the nuts and bolts of things, the CU in-state tuition and scholarship was too good to pass up. But I like to call it super serendipitous that it ended up coming back around and I landed here after post grad. Definitely different, but like the core of what I love about Colorado exists here in like a different capacity of I'm definitely shaped by Colorado in this state and the camping and the outdoor element, and obviously continuing that in Boulder. And I wanted to be in a city, and San Francisco checks all the boxes. I'm like, I'm young, I get the city, I get to get outside the city in the Bay Area and to ski and go to the beach. So yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, no, I love that. And being a Colorado native myself, I got to grow up
Mhm.
just north of you in Parker.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time growing up junior tennis, Colorado Springs. Some of the first tournaments I played were at clubs that you're very familiar with, like a Linmar Racket Club or a Country Club of Colorado. And it's a great opportunity to connect after all these years because high school tennis for you was something that I even to this day, I look at it as I don't know how serious it was for you. And I share that because I know that you were a competitive athlete. You came
Mhm.
from an extensive soccer background. You just had this incredible athletic build that I remember from you as a junior. And when I came across you and your sister and got to spend some time with you guys on the court, you just were a gamer. You were competitive, and I don't care what sport it was, you were gonna find a way to use that competitive pedigree that you had to optimize whatever opportunity that you had. So as I'm saying that as a 20 plus year tennis coach, knowing the accomplishments we're gonna talk about in high school tennis, I would love for you to tell me what tennis meant to you in high school.
Such a good question. And it's funny you say that because, in a sense, you're right. It wasn't as serious to me in high school. I had a lot on my plate in high school. And growing up, my parents put a big premium on education, building out that resume, being well rounded. And I did cross country, varsity cross country in the fall and tennis in the spring, plus speech and debate and every AP class. Like, the schedule is stacked, so when it came to tennis, like, to me, it was my favorite outlet, and I didn't have to view it as something so intense. I didn't feel like I needed a scholarship riding on it, or I need to win every match at all costs. Like, I love the team, I love the competitive nature of it. I obviously liked winning, and we did well, and it was just such a fun experience, but for me, it was like a competitive outlet, breath of fresh air from honestly a lot of the other serious college resume building mindset mentality that I've held a lot in high school.
Yeah, that's completely fair, and I love for you to put some of those puzzle pieces together. Coming from my point of view, I've had so many different connections with Cheyenne Mountain where you
Mhm.
went to school.
Yeah.
I've been able to have one of your former teammates on, Calissa Hall, who was able to have some success similar to you and then try to take those talents to the 5A setting and have some success
Yeah.
there as well. And then also too, to people that play different sports, a good friend of mine who went to Ponderosa High School ended up
Mhm.
transferring to Cheyenne Mountain. His name's Tyler Ward, and he was a
Mhm.
running back at Cheyenne Mountain.
Wow.
Almost won a state title there, but his dad was a football coach and an athletic director, so got to become the AD of Cheyenne Mountain for a little bit. And Tyler ended up playing there, and then he goes on, and now he is a big YouTube slash gig worker coach for people
Mhm.
in Nashville. He has this concept called Songhouse where he's helping gig worker artists have their music go viral by promote it through his Songhouse platform. But I
Mhm.
share all of that because there's some sort of unique trend that I see with this demographic of Cheyenne Mountain is I feel like there's a lot of incredibly well-educated people down there. There's a lot of incredible opportunity, and being a metro area guy like I have been, I just would love for you to tell me What did it mean to you to have the opportunities that you had at Cheyenne Mountain? Because it seems like it's few and far between.
No, absolutely. Something too with upon reflection, you realize I like realized what a great community Cheyenne was. When you're a kid, you're just trying to have a good time a little bit more in high school. I don't think I appreciated at the time, like how amazing it was to be a part of a community where, as Calista said in her interview, which I listened to, tennis was cool and being smart was cool. It was like, it was accepted and good to be doing those things. And so there weren't a lot of hurdles or barriers in terms of my values and my family's values aligning with what the community also valued. So that helped in terms of not having resistance there. When I was looking at tennis and joining the high school tennis team. Obviously, Cheyenne Mountain has an incredible track record. We'd won 10 state titles in a row by the time I came on as a freshman. But the main thing I remember was how heartbroken I was to leave soccer. At that point, I was doing soccer, tennis, cross country. And it was like, okay, we're going into high school. We've got 2 seasons. You've got to pick. And my parents did a good job of letting me make that decision. And when it came down to it, I was like, this tennis team is legendary. And one of my best friends, Casey, like who I played with growing up and we played together all of high school, was also doing it, to where I thought that would be a path that I could commit more to and find more success and have a good time. So there was some realism of, I'm likely going to succeed and shine more in this path, and recognizing kind of the legacy and the stature of the program, but also just genuine excitement around the girls that I would get to play with and the sport itself. Cause I hadn't been doing club for a couple years before I went into high school. I don't know if you remember that,
I
but
do, yeah, I
oh
do.
yeah,
I remember those red Real jerseys you'd always wear to tennis practice.
yes, no, it was soccer. I'd say was my first true love. Tennis won out in the end and is for life, like now my favorite sport, something I know I can play the rest of my life. But yeah, it was definitely hard to pull myself away from soccer. And I also got so invested. I love the team mentality and the fact that when you played club tennis and it was just you, and I was 12 years old and I was competitive and I would get emotionally invested, and so much so to where I'd throw a little fit on the court, and I would never be ill-willed to my teammate, like who I was playing, but I would get frustrated and I'd hit the racket and my mom would say, "You're not allowed to do that." And so then I stepped back from tennis, leaned into soccer. But that when I saw the opportunity to have that team component as well and maybe be playing doubles also, that spiked my excitement even more.
Yeah, the listeners and you are gonna get a kick out of this because the synergy that you and I have is wild. First of all, I got into coaching because my older brother was a high school soccer coach and he
Mhm.
loves soccer. And
Yeah.
watching him when I was coming down from Greeley during the off season and out of school, I would watch him and just watch how he was running the team and how he was connecting with players. And I'm like, this is cool. Maybe I could do this with tennis. To where then here I am as a father. My 17-year-old son is a junior cross country state champion
Oh
is
my
in
gosh.
Valor Christian. He won a team state championship before I did as a coach. And I've only had about 17 years at bat with that equation and haven't figured it out yet. But that led me to not only supporting him as a dad, but also getting into running myself. And this past year, I try to go like a 5K every other day. And that's my peace of mind. So I had 726 miles that I ran last year. And that's where I listen to my podcast or have my kind of me time. So I can resonate with your soccer background, your running background, and your tennis background. And that's a pretty well-rounded athlete. But of the three, are you ranking them as tennis the most fun, soccer was cool, but you miss it, and running is you want to run as far away from you as you can?
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better, honestly. Like the running relationship's a complicated one, right? And that one has been a roller coaster in my adulthood post high school varsity. But yeah, you stacked that pretty well. I'd agree with that ranking.
I love it. Yeah. And then as a coach, I got to spend some time in 4A. I was a coach at Regis Jesuits, which
Mhm.
was a team that had many run-ins with Cheyenne Mountain, and I just remember all too well going down to that state tournament in Pueblo and
Yeah.
going up against the 748 Maroon Jackets at the fence and the intimidation and all of the nuances. But it was such a unique experience for me, Allie, because as much as I was a coach for a team that you guys competed against,
Yeah.
I developed a lot of relationships with that Colorado Springs community, with Cheyenne Mountain. And I want to touch on that for a sec because developmentally, you said you made this shift from letting go of this competitive soccer thing, seeing the opportunity with the team, seeing an opportunity to be a part of a legendary program, multiple state championships as a team. Becky Varnum's history of
Mhm.
winning it 4 years in a row at one singles, All American at Notre Dame. There's another doubles team, I believe, right before you guys that
Mhm.
won 4 in a row, but with different partners. And
Yeah.
you got all of this history, but you knew that you had to at least hone your game in a little bit. So I would
Yeah.
love for you to talk about developmentally. And do you remember some times that you and I were on the court? Because I remember that same kind of tantrum and racket throwing every now and then, and maybe you could touch on that.
Oh, the listener, they're gonna think I went rogue. You absolutely. I very much remember our hitting sessions too. Not to shade any of my other coaches if they're listening, but I looked forward to them the most. I absolutely loved hitting with you. You brought out the joy in it for me and the way that we would just like rally together. And I felt like we had a camaraderie and honesty to where feedback was welcomed, even if I wasn't saying, "Oh, thanks, Coleman." Absolutely. It was just a great energy when we were out on the court. And I always genuinely look forward to our sessions. When it comes to looking at tennis and joining that sort of program and how I geared up, I never weirdly thought of it as super daunting. I had a few thoughts. Hearing Calissa and her experience and how much she was looking towards that. Obviously, I was debating and then I decided to take this route and I was excited to join the team. And I was more just anxious to hope me and my friend Casey could play together. And then when the time came and we just ended up not losing a lot of matches, I didn't have, and I know that's not an experience probably a lot of athletes share. In my high school tennis career, I didn't have a ton of hardship. And that kind of started out the gate to where it set a bit of a precedent of, once again, this being a fun outlet for me and less so this anxious expectation of I need to do well. I felt it more at state or when Casey and I lost our first and only match my freshman year. I forgot what tournament it was. It was some tournament we hosted at our high school and we played these D1. They were seniors. They were committed to go to school for D1 tennis.
Ah,
Casey and I had been like undefeated. And we finally got to this match. And it's the one match we ever lost in our tennis career. And it was not good the way the aftermath fell out. And so there was definitely a bit of anxiety and snippiness, maybe back and forth, if you will.
ah,
Ultimately, that kind of grounded us to when we did have some matches that did get close in the future. Like we had this ability to where it became more of a team. Like we were pointing fingers that first time of, oh my gosh, the pressure of being an athlete is hit. Like we're Shine Mountain, we're supposed to be winning. We haven't lost yet. Like everyone's calling us the Aronson duo. Like we have to do this. And then when we actually lost, it was a bit of a shattering reality of this is all gumdrops and roses for a little bit
yep.
and the aftermath wasn't the best. We quickly resolved, but then in those moments later in the career where we were actually playing Valor, it was the quarterfinals or something one year, and things were close, and we were like down losing in the second set, and they'd taken the first set, and we had to have a huge rally back come around.
Yeah.
And we had an ability to come together and say, no, this is a team. And like that element was huge. But the expectation wasn't massive for me, if I'm being honest. There were moments, but I did a good job of making it fun slash the circumstances allowed for it to be that way. I think a little more for us.
It's such a balancing act, isn't it? Of trying not to overthink and put too much pressure on yourself and having that relaxed, almost lethargic state of mind to where things don't get to you as much. And it's crazy now being a assistant coach at a Valor Christian, and I see the pressure on these
Yeah.
kids being a private school kid,
Mhm.
the scholarships that these athletes are
Mhm.
getting is just borderline remarkable. And a lot of the things that you felt on the court with our interactions, I'm still able to pay forward that today. And I'm spending more time helping kids just be than I am reminding them of the pressure, right?
Mhm.
A
Oh,
good story to share is I had a young man that got to the state championship finals 3 years in a row and lost all 3 of them.
God.
Senior year, little bit opposite
Yeah.
of what we're diving into with you, but the senior year, he gets back there playing doubles and
Mhm.
playing against a team that crushed him 2 times in the regular season. We
Mhm.
played him in a tournament and then played him in a duel from Regis. And it's all full circle for me is because here I am being the former coach of Regis, and now I'm at Valor and I'm helping a kid that I've helped for years, no different than you and your sister. And he gets to this moment again of where he's just right there. And what got him over the edge was this moment through the fence when they were down a set and 4-1. And I told him an open-ended question. I said, Harry, well, his name was Harrison. I called him Harry. Why do you play?
Mhm.
And he said, because I like the feeling. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool.
God.
And I just said to him, dude, I don't care what the result is today. And I know that you have a lot of history in these moments, but why don't you just go out there and enjoy the feeling, man? See what
Mhm.
happens. And slowly but surely, the wheels churn and churn. And
Yeah.
eventually, 8-6 in the third set tiebreaker, they're state champions. So, as I say that and share that story, and you go back to you and Casey, the Aronson duo. I got to work with both you guys. I had a few privates with her back in the day at the Country Club of Colorado. And what a great kid, just a super athlete, quiet. I know you were more the voice of the team, which was totally appropriate because you have to have one voice and one person that's just like a yes, ma'am, let's do this type of deal. And you guys complement each other. But as we set this up, like at what point did you realize that you guys were capable of making history? And did that ever put pressure on you?
Wow, that's a great question. With Casey, it first derived from this genuine place of growing up in the same country club program together and genuine just wanting to play and probably intimidation about joining such a big team to where when we were matched together in the position that we were in, just a lot of relief and excitement to be able to lean on each other. And then freshman year was like such a blur. And then when we ended up winning, we were like, oh my goodness. And then as the years went on, we obviously continued to train and get better and get more experience under our belts. And our position stayed the same, which then almost as the years went on, it became a little easier. But every match, when things seem to take a turn, as in tennis, like it can be such a game of momentum. And so those moments when the momentum felt like it would shift and it felt like our streak was in danger, because we literally lost one game, all like one match, all of high school. It was crazy. And so as amazing as that was, it's so true. The anxiety and the pressure definitely would spike if the momentum shifted for too long and we felt like we were all of a sudden behind. And that was a scary place to be. And that took more of a internal, mental, and dynamic and connection sort of work than it did the actual tennis to be
Yeah.
able to say, okay, like I could be able to shift my momentum and maybe she was still stuck in it or vice versa. And so that ability to be in tune with your partner and learn how they need to be spoken to and what their needs are, and then also what yours are. And then just continually reminding each other, it's okay. It's just a match. We've got this. We've done it so many times before. Finding those things that complement each other well to anchor us in those moments where, yeah, there were a couple scary moments where would it have been the end of the world? No, tennis wasn't my whole life. It would have been okay. But yeah, at the time, it would have felt gutting and embarrassing, and there was an expectation. And so we got in a good groove and comfort of being able to bring each other out of those moments that it wasn't going the way we wanted it to.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's fascinating because there's so many people that I've been able to help in high school tennis that just would love to win a state championship or play in the state finals or make it to state.
Mhm.
And the pressure that they put on themselves to do it, that's what always made you so unique. Is as a coach, I was always deathly afraid to come across you and Casey because I knew you guys had it. And it was not something that can be taught. You
Mhm.
guys were buddies. You guys
Mhm.
grew up together. You guys were friends. You knew things about her that she didn't know about herself and vice versa. And it just going to that moment of freshman year, you have the loss, but then you find yourself in the state championships. Do you remember that first moment where you and Casey were playing one doubles for your first state championship?
Not in some aggressive way that it's like seared in my brain, but I definitely remember my senior year state championship had the biggest impact on me. And I remember the interview of me sobbing on the news, and that one definitely taken up some space in my brain. But I do remember just it was a mixed feeling of relief and then also just, oh my gosh, I'm 14, 15 years old at that time. In a lot of ways, tennis was a vessel for me to build that self-confidence of, wow, I can do it. And at the end of the day, like when you're out on the court, it's just ambiguous problem solving. You have to work with what's in your toolbox at the time. You can't go make something up different. You got to pull out the buggy whip or whatever it is that you've got in your arsenal and just adapt. And so I think that ability to where, and you don't have a lot of time to do it, you have to just adjust, and that ability to be able to adapt in that situation and calm myself down, recognize what the problem is. And I never did it perfectly by any means, but then to have that big accomplishment under my belt at 15 and be like, oh, I did that. It was a big moment for me that I carried with me to this day as like an adult of,
Yeah.
yeah, that is an insane accomplishment. As much as I didn't put that pressure on myself in an insane way, and it wasn't my whole life, like I know a lot of athletes commit themselves to those sports, it was a huge builder in my confidence and my ability to do things. And it's such a special part of my life and experience that I like hold so dearly.
I know that those moments that you had with your friend and representing a community that you grew up in, and all of those moments, not just playing with your friend, your teammates, and the history of accomplishing what you guys did, winning 4 state championships as a team while you were there, right? Like, you guys, they call it the grand slam of high school tennis, where you win 4 in the position that you play.
Yeah.
You're doing it with your best friend, same partner.
Mhm.
The last names are pronounced the same,
It's
but
great.
spelled different.
Yeah.
And from a coaching perspective, here I am getting to resonate with that too. Cause on the podcast just a couple weeks ago, I have a gentleman on by the name of Dave McPherson. And that name doesn't mean anything to you. And I understand that. But Dave McPherson is the former coach of the Bob and Mike Bryan brothers.
Uh-huh.
And they won 17 grand slams
Yeah.
together. So this is a grand slam winning coach talking to me about coaching twin brothers and some of the ways that they're able to have the
Mhm.
success that they have. And as you're talking through the success that you had with your friend Casey, it's verbatim the same exact type of things that you need to be successful. The Bryan brothers fought all the time. They were brothers.
Yeah.
They were
Mhm.
siblings fight.
Mhm.
Girls that are buddies
Takes
fight.
yeah. Absolutely.
I remember when Casey would miss a shot, you'd be like, dude, what are you doing?
Oh,
I
yeah, we would
missed
rip on each other. Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
But being able to have that perspective, knowing all of these different things that have made this moment so special, when you go into that junior and senior year and you've had a couple of these under your belt and you keep rolling with this, at what point did you guys truly know that you could win 4 in a row?
The question became when we started to become upperclassmen. That's also when we stepped into leadership roles as captains as well. And the question more became for us, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. We wanted to stay in the position we were in and we wanted to continue. And that's where I say tennis wasn't as serious to me. And I don't think it was to her. We were both multi-sport athletes. Like she did volleyball and went to state championships for that as well. And I had cross country. And so we each had a lot of other things going on. And tennis was just held such a special place in our hearts for what it was. And we enjoyed so much the 2 years we had together. But then people graduate and spots start to open up. My lovely coach, Dave Adams, we had a few different conversations around, are we going to be moving up this year? Like it might be time to step up and push a little more, which are completely fair asks for the coach. And that's his world and his job. And I understood the request. But for me and Casey, we were like, we've got this down pat. Like I'm now trying to like study for ACTs and college and all these other things. I'm likely not going to get a scholarship. There's people I know that want to play singles and will dedicate that time and effort and like mental energy that singles requires a lot more of. To where I was like, Casey and I if we stay one doubles, we should be a lock, like to win state. And we've had that confidence junior, senior year when those positions were locked in for us to continue playing together of, yeah, let's go. Let's dominate. And that's when it became fun. And then obviously very emotional as the chapter came to a close senior year. But there was a little bit of that going on as the transition happened and upperclassmen.
Yeah, I'll vouch for you there. Is when you're in a competitive program and you're a coach and you're trying to put the best team together as possible, there are rules and ladders and all that fun stuff. But when you have a team that's so competitive where you're 1 through 6 or 1 through 7, you had a bona fide singles player with like a Kalissa, but at any given time, you guys were all beating each other. And it's arguable that a match that you would win against the singles player would beat you the following day. So at some point, you have to have the team and go. And I've had many different situations as a coach where I see double synergy and I'm like, we got to roll with this. Or I've seen the exact opposite where at Valor a couple years ago, our number one singles player ended up getting beat out by 3 standout freshmen that came in. They dropped all the way down to 1 dubs.
Wow.
And they actually ended up losing in the quarterfinals of state in doubles. So it's like the whole lift and shift. And at the end of the day, you try to put the best team out there. And I don't find it to be just more than just utterly amazing that it ended up with all of those different pieces moving in and out to where it just made sense every year for you guys to represent that position. It is so wild to me, but to your point, it happened. You represented it to the best of your ability for 3 years. And then you get to that senior year, like you're talking about. And now there's some emotion involved because you're like, wow, this thing has been rolling.
Yeah.
Let's go right to that state championship match senior year. You've only lost 1 match in your career. And there's probably everyone telling you, and probably your mom included, being like, hey, if you win this one, you win 4 in a row.
Yeah.
What in the world were you and Casey thinking about in the finals of that state championship?
Oh, this sounds so, it was like, to me, we walked in that match knowing we were going to win not to sound in a cocky way. And we faced these opponents a few times before. We knew if we went out there and played good tennis, like we could cinch this. And so there wasn't a lot of room for a bunch of anxiety and nerves and pressure other than, okay, let's close this out. But more, this is our last match together. And so the overwhelming feeling during that for us was like, was choking back tears and still tear up thinking about it. Like those last few games and like that last serve and that last point and us just sobbing and running into each other's arms. It felt like I loved that we both had the ability in the moment, luckily, to appreciate what an end of an era this was. Yeah. And we had the fortunate ability to play our opponents before and actually were friends with the girls we were playing from Valor as well. To where it was just a warm atmosphere for us and a beautiful way to end our career. I do feel like I don't have that traditional, I didn't push myself in this like crazy way or get put in these situations that brought out a ton of hardship. But in a lot of ways with tennis, I stand by the decisions I've made and with staying in one doubles and the way we played my whole tennis career with, I was just being honest with Dave and people and saying, look, like, I know what a priority this is to you. I know what I'm capable of doing and what I have on my plate. I know our doubles ability is next level. And I know the people that are willing to commit and give to singles and we're in the same space. They should run with this. And the fact that it was smooth sailing sometimes felt like a joke. Like it was like, what is going on? Like we did have it relatively very easy, but it was such a blessing, like such a blessing and such a cool experience. And I feel like it shaped me and gave me everything that I needed. And I wouldn't have done anything differently. And I know Casey would say the same. And the people that got to play singles and experience their own challenges and journeys in tennis, it all worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, I share the story a lot actually to high school kids today
Mhm.
about what you and Casey were able to do. And I do it in a context of a quote. I want to share it with you and then I want to follow it with a question.
Mm.
But the quote is, if you make it look easy, you're hard to beat. If you make it look hard, you're easy to beat. You and Casey, even though you had your unique kind of one off tangents towards each other, you always made it look easy. And yeah, there were some points where it got heated and you had to so on and so forth. But I don't think that's just because of the algorithm of how it worked out. I think that happened long before the tennis court.
Mhm.
What I mean by that with the question here is I don't take the term buddies or growing up together lightly.
Mhm.
You guys experienced a lot of life situations together to where when tennis happened to be the byproduct of a friendship you already had, it was cultivated with a situation where you knew each other. You knew exactly what to expect from one another. And when you're a doubles team, like step one is chemistry with your partner. And when that chemistry was as strong as you and Casey, I don't know how many people are going to beat you, which is why four-time state champion occurred. But with that said, it's years past that now. And you've said you reflected back and thought about how that moment was so special for you. But the truth is, kids these days don't treat each other very nicely. I see a lot more negativity in some of the social aspects of high school students than I did seeing with someone like you and Casey. So, as I'm saying that, I would love for you to maybe reflect and tell the listeners about what did that friendship truly mean to you? And how did it help you not just get you through a few tennis matches, but how did it help you get through some of the aspects in your life?
I'm a huge believer you are the people you surround yourself with, and I place a huge premium in my life on my relationships. And relationships serve different purposes in your life, and being able to recognize those nuances is important so you don't force a vision of a relationship onto someone that isn't fair and you take them for who they are and what it is and appreciate and create your own special connection. And that's exactly what Casey and I had. Casey and I were friends from country club and doing tennis together, but in the larger dynamic of the school system, we were not in the same circles.
Gotcha.
And so tennis was very much like our tether and our bond. And our relationship has exponentially grown to where we still keep in touch to this day. I'm still so close to her and her family to this point. That strengthened it along the way through all the trials and tribulations any athletes face. I just think that's such a bonding experience, whether it's with the team, with the coach, with the partner. And for me, it's a whole, I would just encompass it as when I look back on high school and of the people that made the biggest impact on my experience and it therefore shaped me in a big way and had an impact on who I am. She's like top of the list or very close to. We shared so much together in such crucial years of development. And it's like teenagers and lows and highs, and also just fundamentally different personalities and backgrounds to where it was so amazing to go through that experience and humbling to if Casey and I didn't play tennis, you could ask her this, we would not be that close of friends.
Yeah.
And not in an insult to her or to me, just likely circumstantially. So it was so amazing to have such a bond between us and such an experience with two such very different people. And it probably kicked off an ability that I pride myself in to this day of being able to read people and understand relationships and connections and those nuances. It's so important now that I'm even in the corporate world doing the corporate dance. It's such a part of everything in life, and going through such experiences with someone like Casey, so many lessons learned. And she's just one of the more impactful people from my childhood. Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a feeling that you would say that you guys weren't all that close off the court, but it leads me to my last question, and I know that you were close to this person, is your little sister. I know that you guys together were some of the most special times in my life. I was always so excited to know when I had an opportunity to be on the court with you two. And just the overall energy, the care, the wanting to learn. You guys were teachable spirits. I'm forever grateful for that. But your sister was able to follow in your footsteps and get a couple state championships to herself and doubles, and even maybe had to make that transition into singles when she was in her older years. But I would love for you to speak about Miss Ariana and what that little sister, big sister meant to you.
Oh, I've been waiting for you to ask this question, Kollman. I love to talk about Ariana. She is my favorite human ever. So absolutely, like being able to experience 2 years of high school tennis with her, especially after I'd stepped into a leadership role, was so special. And to define Ariana for the listeners who don't know her, she is the biggest hype man, just like a ball of energy and light, and just gives so much to the people in her life. And so having my own personal cheerleader as I went through and closed out this huge chapter and accomplishment in my life in tennis, and her being able to be there at every practice and match for those kind of last 2 years and see me break down in my last match and just be there for all of it was so special. And that has tethered us obviously even more as you grow up and everyone has different life experiences. There's no right path and people diverge. And my sister and I went to different colleges, lead different lives, lived in different states. But the fact that we could have such a profound shared experience in high school it's just such an anchor. Most people would agree. Any athletic experience or any experience you can share with a sibling in like a close capacity and a triumph was huge and was just so fun, just so fun.
Yeah, and the synergy again of my older brother being the
Mhm.
impact he was to me. And we had our sibling rivalry, and he
Yeah.
definitely knew how to be a big brother and give me a hard time. I'm sure you were able to dive into that with your sister.
Oh, yeah.
But I know how much that relationship and that sibling bond meant to you. And it definitely came out in your tennis game and just who you guys are as a family. And it's neat that as much as you've had these accomplishments, it's safe to say that you're not only a four-time state champion, but your family and the support system are four-time state champions. Because you and I both know that those types of feats are impossible to accomplish on your own. So I'd love for you to reflect on the support system and what it took for that moment, that accomplishment to happen. And are you still leaning on that support system today?
Oh, the support system is everything. It's so important to get the right people around you that you can trust and will guide you in the right direction. And your autonomy to pick those people obviously grows more as you grow up. But in high school, I feel super privileged to have been in an amazing community. Shout out to you and Scott Leifer was one of my coaches.
Ah,
Rich Hillway, Ken, like all the people from the country club, like just such a good tennis community was amazing. On top of obviously Dave, amazing coach in high school. And he was just, I loved my years with him. And I obviously have to shout out my parents. Like at the end of the day, like the family unit is, I can't explain how much I know now as I grow up, like how important that is and how much it varies from household to household. And you obviously have your gripes as a child and different things that you wish were done differently of, Mom, can I go do this? But it's okay because they instilled such great values for me in terms of they just wanted, always told me I could do it. Like the one thing that you want out of your support system is like people that truly believe in you and continue to push that dialogue of you're capable of anything. And I didn't hear anything else but that from my mom and my parents from growing up, to where maybe it was a bit delusional at times. Like I was like, I literally can do anything. I could probably break like the weightlifting record. I am, I'm capable of whatever. But that was so huge. And just to know that they always thought that, and that the expectation for me to do great things came from the belief of we believe you're capable of doing great things has absolutely stayed with me. And I still stay in close touch with tennis coaches a little less, but those people from, high school and those friends and family that I hold dear and continue to boost me and lift me up as I go forward. Keep going to do anything is what they say.
4-time number one doubles state champion, team state champion 4 times. Don't come across that often, Miss Ally, but more importantly, results aside, couldn't be more proud of who you have become as a person, the kind words that you've shared about me, and even having any sort of blip on the radar to be part of your development and to help any way that I can is super awesome. And your sister as well and your family. And it's interesting because on the BTB project, I say all the time that impossible is nothing. And I just would love to hear what that means to you.
I love that. Impossible is nothing. The plight a lot of people struggle with just in life, not to make this so existential, but is, am I doing it right? What am I supposed to be doing? Am I like living up to my potential? Did I make the right decisions? Ultimately, life is just a bunch of different decisions. And to calm yourself down and feel that peace and groundedness in your support system and who you are and continuing to go further is so paramount and can be so hard to find and everything that life throws your way. And so when I think impossible, I think nothing's impossible. And as long as you anchor yourself to your roots, to me, it all comes from the ground up. And whenever I'm feeling lost, I continually bring it back to center of who am I? What do I want to do? These are my roots. These are my people I can lean on. And it gives a huge breath of relief. So when anyone's feeling lost, just bring it back to center, lean on those people, plant your feet on the ground, find your roots.
So well said. And maybe down the road when they build a statue of you and Casey in Cheyenne Mountain, will you please invite me to the ribbon cutting ceremony? I would appreciate that.
Absolutely. I can't wait for my statue. Too good. Oh my gosh.
Awesome. Ally Aronson, thank you so much for spending some time with me on the BTB project.
Thank you, Kollman. It's been a pleasure.
Such a wonderful full circle moment to spend some time with Ally Aronson. Her success is unprecedented, and the simplicity of that success is what truly blows me away in this conversation. She was able to find a rapport and trust in her doubles partner that allowed her to win 4 state championships. But more importantly, it was her ability to problem solve, her ability to adapt and adjust and understand each one of the moments that she was in those matches that allowed her to play 4 years of high school tennis and only lose 1 match. As a coach, I'm taken back by that because I teach a lot more about how to handle pressure, how to overcome some of the feelings that people have on the court because they put this unforeseen pressure on themselves. But Ally, being a cross country runner, a soccer player, she was able to keep it simple, and tennis was an outlet for her. It was fun. She got to go on the court for 3 months out of the year with her friend Casey, tap into her competitive spirit, and go win some matches. And at the end of the day, there's a lot that I've learned from Ally, knowing how simple the game can be, but at the same time, how complicated the game can be as we put unnecessary pressure on ourselves. Listen, if Ally's story resonated with you as one of the greatest Colorado tennis players of all time in high school, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the BTB Project. Better yet, share this message with a family member, friend, or colleague. Let them know why it impacted you. Being able to resonate with Ally's story not only helps if you're an athlete, but it helps in your career, in your life. It's not about always trying to overdo and exceed and do these insurmountable things. It's just about being. And Ally did such a tremendous job eloquently describing that. And it's so cool how her support system and everything that's helped her to this point, that she's been able to pay it forward to today. I'm proud of each and every one of you. Thanks for checking out today's episode. And until next time, take care.
You're told I'll be your heart, temptation.